Welcome everyone to the National Indian Gaming Association's Associate Member Spotlight with Gaming Laboratories International. My name is Ashley Cope and I'm the Marketing Manager for the Indian Gaming Trade Show and Convention. I would just like to share a few housekeeping tips as we get started. Everyone is muted by default except for our speakers. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question or chat panel and these will be brought up at the end. This session will also be recorded and available on our website as well as emailed to you afterwards. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Victor Rocha, Conference Chairman of the National Indian Gaming Association.
Thank you, Ashley. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Victor Rocha. I'm with the National Indian Gaming Association, and today's our associate members spotlight. I'd like to introduce you to a very, very special guest, Mr. James Maida, the president of Gaming Laboratories International. I apologize.
Doing great, Victor. Thanks for having me today.
It's such an honor to have you here. On a personal note, I think you know how I feel about you. I think it's important that people in Indian country know who you are and what you've done for us. And you've been in our corner a really long time, James. You know,
I think you called me when you said, I think I'm starting Pachanga.net website, and I need a few months up front if you could advertise. And was really taken by what you were trying to do. And I remember I told Christy at the time, we just have to support Victor, whatever he's doing. And look what you've done. So it's tremendous.
You guys have been in my corner since I started with Pachanga.net. You were one of my first sponsors, and our relationship goes back. But you know, your relationship with Indian country goes back much further than that. You know, can you tell us how did you get involved in Indian country?
You know, we started. You know, it was a little bit by mistake, right? The first compacts that we were called in on was the Minnesota compacts, and they needed someone to help write the technical standards. They had been running something up there, and the state now wanted to negotiate a compact. It took 2 weeks at the Radisson Hotel in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It was actually St. Paul Radisson. We got it over the line, and you know, that was the first compact I was involved in. It went so well that within weeks, the Wisconsin tribe started to negotiate. And you know, having a law degree, but really being a technologist and computer science person, I thought it was really fun. It was, how do we get something legal? Tribes can get something through a class 3 compact, and you know, how do we call a slot machine something that's not a slot machine, and how do we do the technical standards so it passed muster under the compact and state law, and something that the governor would sign, and something that was economically feasible, Victor, for the tribes.
Well, you know, those class 2 machines, those gray market machines, have been so incredibly important in the growth of tribal gaming. You know, especially when you look at California, when we started in the 90s, all we were with gray market machines, and until we had the constitutional change in 2000 and we got class 3, that's what we exclusively relied on. And like I said right before we started, you know, we had to go to court and we had to prove that, you know, they weren't slot machines. And that was pretty funny. He said in front of the judge, they're going, and those are slot machines. And our tribes are like, oh, no, they're not, you know, right. And it was because of the technicality behind that.
I think, Victor, you look at those early cases, right? You look at those early cases, whether it's the Magical Irish Bingo case, the Diamond Games case, the Cabazon 2 case, which was right in the federal district court there in San Diego, in the Southern District there, and you could see that how were we basically saying it's not a slot machine, and these were, whether it's a facsimile or is it really a slot machine, and these were the things that not only Judge Huff had to deal with, but we also had to deal with it in Oklahoma, in the 10th Circuit, in Florida. We dealt with it through the Diamond Games case. So you know, those cases were early on. It allowed some leverage to be established, that the tribes were going to get class 2 gaming. We just had to figure out what a facsimile wasn't. And once that happened, as you know, Victor, then the state said, well, we can't tax and we can't regulate and we can't get any money from class 2 games. And I think that's really what brought people to the table around your constitutional amendment that you did in the middle 90s.
You know, your story is really fascinating, James. And, you know, we jumped in right into the middle of it, but you actually started out in New Jersey, as you said, as an engineer with New Jersey, right?
Right. I'm a computer science engineer. And my first job was the first 2 years that I worked. I worked at the New Jersey Gaming Enforcement, testing gaming devices. There was really only two places you could gamble at the time, Nevada and New Jersey. There were some games up in Montana, but 1985, there were only legal slot machines, class three government sponsored gaming in those two places. So, and then I went to law school. I went to Rutgers Law School, and then while I was in law school, all of this tribal gaming things broke out, and I was balancing law school, being married to my wife Sharon at the time, and trying to help tribes out where we could. So it all started happening between 1988 and 1990. It was just a crush, and then obviously the states started getting gaming, whether it's Iowa. Got the riverboat gaming. Well, then the tribes were entitled to a class three compact. So as every state started going, we were just, as states got it, well, they had to negotiate with tribes because they're sovereigns and they had to be equal, it had to be fair. And so gaming just spread across. And so we tell everybody, we grew up with Indian gaming. We grew up with gaming. As it was coming on, we got larger and better and more engineers, and it just didn't happen in 1 week.
No,
it happened in a period of 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, just watching your company grow has just been a wonderful thing to see. But you've never rested on your laurels, and you guys have always looked to the future of what gaming is. And how did the pandemic affect everything for you? How did you pivot on that?
I think that I saw somebody once told me early on in the pandemic, you want to never waste a really sort of a bad situation, which was the pandemic. And I think at GLI, we've really been building our underground infrastructure, right? We have a company in the GLI group called Bulletproof, where, pandemic, everybody went home, everybody's working remotely, but of course, security has become a big issue now, right? So that security business is important. Online gaming, right? We have the largest online gaming testing group of anyone in the world. And we have this security group. So we can not only do the online and sports book and sports betting, which we've been doing in Europe for years and years, but now all of a sudden the technology is pulled forward here in America. What we thought was going to take 5 or 10 years, all of a sudden now, as you know, Victor, it's everybody wants their digital gaming tomorrow. So we've pivoted a bit. Our business is now more maybe 30%, 40% digital and 60% land-based. Now we expect land-based to come back, but we really try hard and very conscientious with respect to our employees and what we try to keep everybody on. We try to do a lot of, try to make things as comfortable as possible. We've been hybrid. We've been working from home. Regulators have allowed us to test from home, so that's really positive. And we've done like anybody's done. I think, Victor, like you tell me you've done, right? You have to do what you have to do to get through. But over the last 3 or 4 months, we've really built out, we're ready to go. Like we are ready now to when this industry starts back up, we're ready now. So we've done a lot of infrastructure changes to make sure that we are in the best place for not only suppliers, but operators, the tribal regulators and whatnot.
Well, that always seemed to be a real big issue with online gaming, especially when you're in the gray market. If you look at the infamous stories about, the God mode and all that stuff, I think a lot of the online gaming things, you're just told to trust us and it's fair. And, you have to rely on them. There's just no other way to do it. And I think, you were one of the first people that I saw to go into that field to start looking at the online testing.
We were first to do that. Also, HHR, historical horse racing, really first made into that area. The first to set up a security group so that we could do what our Bulletproof division does in terms of security. Interoperability labs, the systems, how integrated games are with systems, not only in the class 2 world, but the class 3. We were the first to set up an interoperability center in Las Vegas. So we're always trying to think about what does it look like 5 years from now, and how do we put in the appropriate amount of R&D? And that's something that we've really been working really hard on. Where the work has slowed down, certainly it's slowed down for us like everybody else, and it's been crushing like everybody else. but we're trying to figure out how do we R&D and innovate not only through the pandemic, but how are we better out the other side? And that's what I think all of our team members are really focused on as we go forward.
You know, and you bring up a good question, you know, because you really were, like I said, you really were one of the first to go into the online testing and stuff like that, and you saw it way before everyone. What was your motivation there? Was it just your need to keep moving, or is this is how you saw it going, right?
Well, I know, Victor. First of all, you know, if you even think about how computers played Mega Nanza, Mega Bingo, things that were on Indian Tribe,
Right.
Early on, you had games that were completely run, you know, over the internet, you know, in terms of ball draws and whatnot. But most likely, what we do most of the time, and I know you have mostly a North American audience here today, is we look towards what happens in Europe. So Europe is a much less technologically regulated. They allow more things to happen in Europe quicker than what we might see over here in the United States. So a lot of things we see are happening in Europe, and we have an office. We have 5, 6, or 7 offices in Europe. We also see a lot of cool stuff happening in Asia. We have offices in Macau. We have offices in other places, Australia, around the Pacific Rim. And so we see these ideas coming, and we have to start testing to these ideas. So, you know, PokerStars was PokerStars, but they were you know, they were a Canadian company, but they were in Europe before they were in America. So we try it out a bit as we learn, like everybody else is learning in Europe, and then it easily transfers to other places around the world. Do you really want to know where the newest technology coming from?
Yeah.
Well, you can't do it now, but we get on airplanes and we go to Asia, we go to Europe, we go to certain other places in India. We also look at what's happening in the United States and Canada, but you can really get very well informed. I know you're a big guy that likes to go to the ICE show in London. I know.
Always there. You know, we just saw each other there a year ago.
And how many times do you go there and say, wow, this is cool, I never saw this before? They had online gaming booths, and they had huge amounts of digital content well before the G2E show or other shows in the United States. So you kind of see what's happening other places in the world, and you realize it's coming our way.
Well, and you know, that's when I first went to G2E. That's why I was back here running around like Paul Revere through Indian country, saying you have to go because that's really where the cutting edge was. You know, all the things that prevent us from, you know, at the time from online gaming and things we couldn't look at, or verboten, you know, over in Europe. Like I said again and again and again, I got off the airplane and I was shocked to see there was gambling everywhere, and the world wasn't, you know, the world kept moving, the sun didn't stop. And so, you know, it was very educational. And I remember vividly walking the floor on G2E and the slot machine on a watch, you know what I mean? And
Right.
So you see there it's really a better view of the global economy of gaming as opposed to the American version of what we think.
Most people don't know there's 1.5 million AWP games, which are like low price slot machines throughout Europe.
Right.
You know, people don't realize there are 7 million, or maybe they're down to 6.5 million now, games in Japan, right, that are on the streets and in pachinko and pachi slot parlors. And so there's a lot of this street level VLT type gaming all over the world, more so than what we have in the United States.
Yeah. You know, I remember going to Wagos, which is one of the productions that Clarion does, which is about the South American market. And I remember them talking about, you know, buying a casino, but they said, you know, to go to the airport to the casino, you had to go buy, you know, 1,500 gray market machines on the way there. So, and they were going to do nothing about it. And so, you know, that was the nature of the beast.
We were the first lab in Latin America. Karen Sierra does a great job for us in that market. But we went to Peru, and Peru was all gray area. And now it's regulated, and there's real slot machines, and they're not only VLTs, but there's casinos, and you know, there's a perfect example. You know, you go to other places, Colombia now is very regulated, all through Latin America, through Karen's work, the work of GLI people, total unnamed many people. So Latin America has become much more regulated, and the games are better. So it's really driving everywhere.
Yeah. So how do you see What do you see now because of the big pandemic? What has changed? Is right. Obviously, the casinos. Well, when I go to mine, it's actually quite filled. It's actually kind of surprising how many people are there. Now I know my casino is very unique, is that it's outside of San Diego and Los Angeles, so that's going to happen. But it definitely is a barometer for what you're seeing. Are land-based casinos a thing of the past, or is it all going to be online gaming? Is it all going to be mobile? Is that what you see, or is it just the world's all going to find its spot and everyone does what it does?
Yeah, I had the fortune enough to interview Todd Eilers the other week, and we're GLI and for something we're doing, and he, he and like me and others, we believe that when people are going to want to get out, people are going to want to get that vaccine, and they're going to want to get out, and they want to go down to their casino and not only gamble, Victor, but have great entertainment and have a night out. And I think many people have said the first thing that's going to come back are the local casinos. And we say local casinos, we mean where people are driving in, right? So whether it's regional casinos that are commercial, like a Penn National and Boyd and those kinds of casinos, the American Tribes casinos like yours, outside of San Diego, I think they're going to pick up first because people are just going to be like, I got to get out of the house and I want to go do it. And then I think Macau, Las Vegas, these destination resorts where you have to get on a plane, except for you, Victor, you could probably drive right over to Las Vegas in no time at all. But
I'll be there on Wednesday. It's a 4-hour drive from my house.
But many of these larger strip casinos or larger, they will come back over time. But the markets really believe that the pent up demand, that when we come popping out of this, it's going to be like somebody just shot off a starter pistol in a race, and everybody's just going to want to come out of their houses. So we think that land-based is going to be great. Now we have this online component. So you can play all day or play when you want at the casino and go home and have the same experience playing at home or picking up the game where you left off in the casino. You win points in both places. I can see where there'll be a lot more cross marketing and it'll be really a lot of fun. But, the strip is going to be back better than ever. And I think tribal casinos will be back better than ever and regionals will be back because it's a social thing, isn't it? And you don't just want to be stuck in your house playing a video or playing online. At the same time, we pulled all this new technology forward. So we're really excited about, hey, you don't have to go all the way to the casino anymore to bet on a football game, right?
Right.
We can now do some things that you used to have to go to the casino only to do. You can do it when you're there if you want to bring a whole bunch of friends down and sit in the sports book and have a great afternoon, but you can also appeal to those that are not. So lots of great technology around geofencing, age verification. I think it's just 1 + 1 is going to equal 3, and it's all going to come back at different times.
It's amazing how fast it's moved in the last 10 years, and I think the pandemic has really sped that up even faster. I think if you look at some of these technology, and actually this really leads into a good question before I even finish it, but what do you see as a substantial technology that would change the way the industry is doing business going forward?
I think that we're looking right now at all these digital wallets, right? Where you're not bringing cash, not bringing coins. I was just saying to my family the other day, I think I have the same $100 that's been in my wallet since last April because I'm buying a coffee for $1.50 on a Visa card or a debit card. So I think we're seeing a lot of new submissions, a lot of new technology around touchless, contactless payment. How do you get money on machines? How do you get money off of the machines? How can it all be done almost like, a Venmo? It's just completely touchless. So we see a lot of great things happening in the payment space. And when I say payment, how to get money on and off machine, on in and out of the casino. Maybe digital credit where you can get markers and things like that through digital kind of an idea rather than going up to a cage and after filling out a lot of things. So we see a lot of that. We also, I think, are going to see a lot of more artificial intelligence, understanding when people are playing the games and what they like to play. And all of that has been dragged forward too. So the player experience is going to be much less friction. It'll be frictionless. You're going to come in, you don't need to stand in line to get your player card. Everybody's going to want a player card because you're going to want to, uh, uh, do all this frictionless kind of thing about putting money on and off the game. So I think that will be, I think that's the newest, biggest technology that's coming. Also, obviously, sportsbook and online gaming and all that digital gaming is only in a very small percentage of regional markets, and tribes will compact for it or whatever. I see huge upside for tribes to do that where they choose to do it. I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't. It's up to the tribe. Do they want to engage in compact negotiations with states over these kinds of things?
It always seems when I look back at my experience and working with tribes and stuff like that, the idea at one point, maybe like 5 years ago, the idea of data flying across the casino was scary. They had to be hardwired, and they didn't want to be picked up and stuff like that. But it seems to be security seems to be a real big issue, and that was the big issue for them. It seems to still be a big issue, especially when you're going into things like cash.
And so we
like cash.
The testing and all of the certification, and not only compliance testing, but pre-compliance testing and all those things. But there's a huge security component. And that's why we went out at GLI and we acquired Bulletproof, so that we have in-house, we don't contract out for it. It's not some subcontracting group that we don't, it's a whole, they're a separate independent company within the GLI group of companies, but at the same time, we can make sure that our clients get the very best, not only in penetration testing, security testing, hacker, make sure things can't be hacked, make sure the databases are safe. We've heard too many stories, right, over the last year about where casinos have had their systems broken into and player lists lost and credit cards stolen or payment methods stolen. So this is going to go hand in glove. Certification is great, but just like years ago, we didn't have to certify that the games talk to a system, which we do now. Now it's games, system, and cybersecurity. It's all going to be one big package.
So tell us a little more about Bulletproof. So you're telling me that this is the new company that you bought, and this is our acquired.
Not so new. We actually acquired them five years ago.
Right.
We have Canadian offices. We have European offices. It's a 280 person company globally.
Right.
And it's under the GLI umbrella of companies. And they do some work in regulatory areas, but they are our all day, all night, 24 hours a day security specialists that understand it. We not only look at penetration testing, but we have something called the SOC, the Security Operations Center, where we monitor casino networks. We monitor people's networks to see if they're actively being hacked in. And that's a service that we provide to not only gaming companies, but we have a whole host of non-gaming entities of large brand names that you would know that contract with us around those kinds of security. So it's how do you lock down people's laptops at home? How do you lock down gaming suppliers' code where they're having code developed in one country and sent to another place? And what happens if it gets stolen? Right down to, can someone hack into the reservation system of a casino hotel and wind up on the gaming floor looking at gaming data? That's what Bulletproof does. They think security, hacking, and how do you lock down not only the physical infrastructure, but every endpoint. Think about how many endpoints you have in a casino at Pechanga or wherever you might be. Every cashier, every laptop, everybody in the IT room, all the executives upstairs, the front desk, and all that.
And that's amazing that you say that, because first of all, I saw an amazing interview the other day with this legendary hacker named Gummo. The guy's a legend, and it was amazing. But the whole thing was about how vulnerable we are, and we have become with technology and the way we just give our data and information. And anyone that's been in this industry long enough knows that every day your casino is trying to be hacked, your phone's trying to be hacked. I had my credit card again for the 50th time. You know what I mean? I had to replace. And
That's
so
tough.
something like Bulletproof just seems perfect for what we do because of that sense of security.
Right, and it's required. For instance, New Jersey Gaming Enforcement Casino Control Commission requires that all of their casinos undergo a yearly cybersecurity audit. We do most of those, if not all. There are many states around the United States that require that on their casinos, but also many tribes are starting that as well. They understand that, especially tribes that are starting to look into their own digital iGaming brands. So, you know, what old days used to walk up the machines and try to hack them while they were on the casino floor. Now you can hack them outside, which makes it way more dangerous.
Right, absolutely. They don't have to put the piano wire up the casino anymore. They could just stay at home and press a button. And, you know, I watch these things on YouTube about hacking and how a lot of it is done and, you know, scamming people and stuff like that. It's just so prevalent and it's just so out there. And I think a lot of us are really ignorant to that fact. And so I think it's really wonderful that, you know, a small casino can have the same type of security that an Apple or you know, some of the banking companies in Wall Street and stuff like
we are
that.
agnostic. We want everybody, whether you're a small casino, a large casino, an in-between casino, you're a tribal casino, you're more a commercial casino. We want everybody to be able to have access to this. And we're also connecting systems way more than we've ever connected. So it used to be a slot machine was connected to the casino system. That's all that it was. Now there's lots of things connected together. It's one big network on the casino floor, and that's what really drives. That much scares you because if you get into one system and you can make your way to other systems, that's where the security really comes into place.
And look at you look at this the recent hacking in the government and the way they did it, the channels, and they went through a secure system and they went back, and so everybody was doing what they were supposed to, and yet, you know, there's still these vulnerabilities. And
you have to learn every day that the solar
SolarWinds, exactly.
Everybody looked at it and said, okay, what do we have to do to make sure that we don't have that? I know I read that article, Victor, and it came out on a Saturday evening, and I was on with my Bulletproof people saying, number one, does GLI have that app problem? Thank God we did. And can we check all of our customers to make sure they don't have what I call that SolarWinds issue? And we did. But that you have to learn every day. Nobody's going to sit here and say it's impossible to hack anything. You have to learn every day, and that's why we have a full-time team that's integrated with us so that we can quickly call over and say, hey, this customer has a problem. Can you go call them?
Yeah, I got one other question. As we talk about changing the technology, you mentioned the fact that you're an international company. Is that really helpful to you? Is that
it really has been helpful. We have over 900 plus people in our testing division, over 1,400 total, between Bulletproof and our government consulting practice and GLI, and it really helps us. You cannot, during the pandemic, you had to resort to Zoom. You couldn't fly to Europe. You can't fly to Africa. You can't fly to Australia. The fact that we have offices in all these places, we were able to continue without skipping a beat, right? So I think to be in more places, to understand more people, to understand what the needs are. Tribal gaming has certain needs that European casinos don't have, and vice versa. And so we don't ever take a one size cuts all. What we have to really think about is what's happening local on the ground. New casinos going into, Cyprus. Well, you approach, or Hungary, you approach that a whole completely different way than, putting a new casino in Michigan. And so if you're not local, you're going to just not really understand what the local politics, what the local policy is, and what the local customers really need.
Well, I think that's really where the real value is. I mean, of all the value you have, and there's quite, but the fact that you guys are out there fighting for us and making sure that, all the latest threats are handled. And, as the more tribes go online, and they will be going online, I think this is very important that this type of information is out there.
Victor has made a lot of gains, right? The Class 2 issue is very settled these days. States by and large are getting along really well in their compacting process. Oklahoma was most recently resolved. States and tribes relationships, by and most part, not saying in every single place, but the relations, government to government relations has, I think, never been so good in 2021. Yes, there are flare-ups. Yes, there are issues, but I think that everybody understands everybody's role to play, and I think the economic activity that the tribes bring to the states that they reside within, uh, you know, big economic advantage. Look at Southern California where you are, but look at what the Minnesota tribes bring and the Wisconsin tribe. You can't underestimate the economic value that tribal gaming brings. And some just count commercial casinos, and I have to tell you, there's 236 plus. The number of tribal casinos, and they're worth their weight in gold.
Yeah. Well, it's been transformational for us. It's changed our lives and changed our world. And more importantly, they'll be changing the lives of our children. And, James, before I wrap up, I'm going to play a video that's going to send us out. But, did you have any words of wisdom for our speakers when we wrap up here? What would you like to share with them?
I think that I say things to my kids sometimes that they laugh about, but I say, we live our world, GLI's thinking is everything counts. You have to do your best every single day. Honesty and transparency, compliance is all super important, not only for us, but for our clients that we work with. Ask more questions than you answer in terms of finding out what's really going on. Never take for granted any day or what you can learn in any day and the people that you meet. We didn't even know each other that first day. I mean, Victor, I'd heard your name. You called me out of the blue. Who would have known that, 25 plus years later, we would be doing this interview? I think that's really instructive for younger people, or anybody. The gaming industry is lifelong relationships, and your credibility is your credibility, but the credibility of Indian gaming is really something that can't be compromised. And that's why we hope that all tribal leaders, all tribal gaming commissions, all tribal operators, everybody, even if you're tribal or non-tribal gaming, we need to take these security threats seriously. Everything just needs to really be taken seriously, and we just need to run the cleanest, best operations that we can. And people really feel that they're getting a great product anytime they walk on the tribal gaming locations.
I think you should get a 23andMe test. I think you might have some Native American in, James. I think you're speaking our language, and I think you should test. And I want to see those results when you're done. You know what, James? Thank you so much. You were great. Oh, and before I go, it looks like I have a question in here. Are the bulletproof solutions currently available to individuals in addition to enterprise solutions?
Yeah. So I don't know that we take on an individual person who is like an end user like myself or you, but that person can reach out to me using my email at j.maida, M-A-I-D-A, my last name, at gaminglabs.com, and we'll certainly, if you have a security concern, love to hook you up and we can try to hash that out for you.
Yeah. And by the way, I think it's funny that a guy in security is giving out his email number. You want to give out your social security number too? You know what I mean? So we can all have it.
On the internet, you'll find my email pretty quick though, Victor.
Same here, man. Well, listen, I'm going to run this video as a way to end the show, but I want to thank you so much, James. It was just, as usual, you're such a phenomenal host. A guest. Your work is just amazing. Your company that you've built is incredible, and the people that work for you are second to none in honor and integrity. So obviously, you care more than just security, but you care about integrity on all levels too. So you have a wonderful company. You're a great friend, and you're a great friend to Indian country. So I want to thank you so much. And everyone, I'm going to play a little quick minute and a half video, and I'd like you all to stick around. And again, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much. Bye.
How do you know when you're ready for the world? How do you know that all the hard work, the long hours, the nagging doubts, the questions about questions, the frustrating fears are behind you, with only the bright future ahead? How do you know that the game-changing, industry-changing, world-changing innovations you create, or purchase, or regulate can be trusted around the world? You'll know because we understand what ready means everywhere you want to go. Our knowledge, integrity, and experience have certified more gaming products than the rest of the industry combined. When we say you're ready, the world trusts that you are. We've been trusted to know when our customers are ready for over 30 years. It's difficult, it's ever-changing, and if it was easy, anyone could do it. But we've been doing it longer than anyone else with unmatched success, redefining our industry's future by guiding our customers directly toward it. No one is more qualified, more passionate, or more capable of illuminating your path to greatness. Because it's not fair if it's not fair for everyone. Cutting edge means nothing if it doesn't make the... And it can't be a success if it isn't in market. With us, it's not a question of if you're ready. It's just a question of why you'd ask anyone else.
That was good. Thank you, James. We appreciate it. All right, everyone. See you in a couple weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.